Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel Skipping Stitches. My name's Megan and it's great to have you with me here today. If you're new here today, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming along and I hope you enjoy my content. As always, feel free to leave me any comments you like and give me a thumbs up and subscribe so that I can keep doing what I'm doing and bring more content to you. So let's get started. Today I am going to attempt to do a little bit of a sew along. My last vlog, I talked to you about this fabric here, which I'll mention again in a minute. And a couple of people, well, quite a few of you were interested in it and wanted to know how to handle it and how to sew with it. And I explained that my plans were to use one of them in my autumn winter wardrobe. So I thought, let's go through a little bit of how I sew with it, how I cut it out, all that kind of thing. So hopefully that'll be interesting for you today. That's also why I've got a slightly different backdrop today. I'm in the part of the house where I tend to do my cutting and my preparation before I actually sew. I hope the lighting and everything is okay, so we'll see, fingers crossed. I'll let you know what I'm wearing today before we get started. I mentioned this last week as well. It's the fabric that I had left over from my capsule wardrobe and I just wanted to make one more garment. And I decided in the end to go with the French Navy Seneca shirt, which I'm wearing today. Hopefully you can see that. It's a really cute, short, sort of cropped, boxy shirt with an inverted pleat, nice details, a back yoke, and I'm wearing it with a True Bias Zoe tank, which is just made in a cotton lycra, and my apron pocket shorts. You can see the shorts if you go back a couple of videos, and that was part of my capsule wardrobe. I've got trousers in the same fabric. It's a cobalt blue enzyme linen that I got from Guthrie and Garney, and it coordinates beautifully with this. I think in an ideal world I should have a white tank on, but you know, black will do for now. I've been wearing this all day in the hope that the sunshine might just keep coming for a bit longer. It's warm today, but it's definitely starting to feel a bit autumnal, so I'm excited to be starting on my autumn winter plans. So let's get talking about this fabric. As I said, I mentioned it last week, so if you want to scroll back, feel free, but I'll go over it all again today. I've actually got it in two colours, well, three if you include the one I've already got. It's the pink one here that everyone was interested in. If I hold it close to the camera, you'll see it's got almost like a hand knitted effect to it. It's actually a mixed content, mixed fibre fabric. It's got a percentage of wool in it, which you can feel. It feels like wool. It's also got some polyamide and a bit of polyester, not too much. And it kind of just feels like a, you know, a jumper that somebody's knitted for you. So I've got it in this gorgeous dusky pink. And I've also got some in a sort of petrol tealy colour. I bought this last winter from Guthrie and Garney. So you can see it's got that lovely slubby texture. This is almost two-toned, this one, almost like a marl. And they both will probably be marlo cardigans, if I'm being honest, because it's a favourite and I love it. Feels really nice against the skin. It does need to be washed carefully because of the wool content. So I wash mine at 30 degrees. Bobbles ever so slightly after a few wears, but you know, nothing major. My cream one's still going strong. I'm probably going to film this vlog in a few parts because I need to move backwards and forwards to my cutting table and show you how I'm doing things. So you may find that the next video I'm wearing something different if I film it on a different day, or there may be a few little gaps. This is a first for me. I haven't really done this before, so again, bear with me. I'm going to try and show you how I prepare and cut out this fabric with the True Bias Marlow cardigan. The Marlow cardigan has been around for quite a long time. It's not a difficult project. It's quite simple to sew. I think the thing that throws people is the fabric and the buttonholes, but they are very simple. You know, I'm not going to go into great details about construction because it's all quite self-explanatory. True Bias have great instructions already. One thing I would say about the pattern is that it does come up quite big. It's intentionally loose, boxy, a loose, boxy fit. And that's great. And I like loose, boxy fits, but when you look at the kind of your measurements compared to the finished garment measurements, it would have been very oversized on me. So I think my measurements put me between a size 2 and a size 4. The cardigans that I've made previously have been made in a size 0, and I say they're about perfect for me. crop version is what I've always gone for because they look nice with my jeans and everything that I wear them with. But there's also the longer length as well with the pockets. So choose a variation that you like, and just bear in mind, if you want really slouchy oversized, go with your actual measurements. If you want it slightly more fitted, then I would consider sizing down. So take a really good look at the finished garment measurements would be my top tip with that pattern, and just enjoy the process. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over to my cutting table and show you how I use this fabric and how I try to prevent sort of any unraveling of the wool. Right, so I'm at my cutting table, aka my dining room table. The dog has also joined me. If you can hear some footsteps, it's going to be carnage. It's just taken me a while to find my pattern actually. I do keep, someone was asking me what I do with my patterns. I keep them in these little zip wallets that I sort of get from Amazon because they're just quite nice and sturdy, and you can fit 2 in as well normally. And I sometimes use these paper envelopes, but I do find after a while they get a bit dog-eared and a bit, you can tell this one's well loved. This is one my Marlo's in. So I'm going to get this pattern out now, lay it on top of my fabric, and then show you what I'm up to. Okay, so I am usually a pattern weights and rotary cutter kind of girl, like this, with my self-healing mat. But I find because of the texture of this fabric, it blunts my rotary blade really quickly. So I am going to pin and cut with a sharp pair of scissors. So I'm using nice sharp pins here. I've got some new ones recently, some tulip pins actually, which are fantastic. And they just help prevent any snagging. So just pin as you normally would, making sure everything's on the straight grain. I've got my fabric folded in half at the minute, but you could do it on the flat, whatever's easier, whichever you prefer. Okay, so I've got my pattern pieces pinned flat. I haven't got all of them in view here because it's not easy to film it, but you get the gist. So nothing new here. And then I'm just going to use some really sharp scissors. These are a fairly new pair that I got from Kai. I've got a nice long sharp blade. I'm just going to cut around the pieces as you usually would. Just taking care, and I'm not snipping any of the notches right now. I'll explain later how I do those. And making sure that I'm holding onto the fabric so it's not weighing down as it's falling off the edge here as well. So snip, snip, snip. This is cut out and ready to go. So I said earlier not to cut into the notches. Now this is just personal preference, but again, because of the loose weave of this fabric, I think it's too risky to start cutting little notches into it. So what I do, I have one of these amazing water erasable pens. This one's by Bond. Again, I think I just got it off Amazon. Not the cheapest, but I've had this for months and it's still about 3/4 full. So it lasts really well. And I've used it on really pale fabric, really dark fabric, and it washes out no problems. Always test first, obviously. But yeah, for me, it's a game changer with things like this. So I'm going to make my notches with this pen, but make sure I do it within the seam allowance just in case. So all my notches are going on now. And it just leaves a nice little blue mark. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick it up on camera. I'll show you. Just a real faint blue mark there that I'll be able to see later that that's my lot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all of my pattern pieces. So all my notches are marked with my water erasable pen, tiny little blue dots on there, so hopefully I won't get muddled up later. So next it is getting ready to sew. So in terms of sewing the marlo together and this particular knit fabric, my preference is to use my overlocker. Now I know not everyone has an overlocker and that's absolutely fine, My very first marlo was made with my sewing machine using a zigzag stitch, and then I went over the edges with my overcast foot. An overcast foot basically works like a fake overlocker. It does a tiny little zigzag over the edges and kind of rolls it in a little bit. Gives a really neat finish, and the one that I made using that technique probably about 5 years ago now is still going strong. So I will try and grab that and I will show you it later, just to show you that either way it's fine. But I do find that with this kind of fabric that is stretchy and it's textured, I find that my overlocker handles it best. My particular overlocker is the Baby Lock, and it does have a built-in auto tension, which means I don't need to fiddle around with getting the right tension. It just works it out for me. And again, not all machines have that, and that's fine. Just have a little play with some scraps and mess around with your tension a little bit and see what's best for you. You want to kind of avoid any bunching up or any rippling of the seams and keep it nice and flat and neat. So I'm going to take this over to my overlocker shortly, and we'll get going, and I'll just show you a little bit of what the seams look like as we go along. There will be possibly some hand stitching towards the end. My overlocker all threaded up with some matching thread. You obviously don't need to use matching threads, you can use whatever you want. And instead of having 4 matching spools, you can use your bobbin or small spools as well to save on money. I'm just going to do a quick test to make sure everything is as I want it to be. So that's looking pretty good. It's not wavy, it's not bunching up. Colour matches perfectly. This wasn't bought intentionally for this, so it's a winner, isn't it? Yeah, so I like that, it looks good. And so I'm going to go ahead and sew everything up with my serger, and I'll let you see how it looks as we go. I have done all the basic sewing on my overlocker serger. I have done the side seams, the sleeves, and attached the shoulder seams obviously for the front and back. So let me show you where we're up to. Actually, let me take this off for now. Obviously unfinished as it is, but this is where we're up to. And this is all very straightforward so far. So we've got the shell of a cardigan, okay? So tomorrow what I'm going to do is attach the armbands, which is also very straightforward, not much to talk about there. The neckband and the waistband. So the waist and the arms are really straightforward, just like you would do with most sweatshirts. The neckband is slightly different, not a lot, but it just needs top stitching down carefully or hand stitching. So I'm going to go for now and have a break, and I'll come back tomorrow and we'll talk through what we do next. See you later. Hi, I'm back, and it is the next day as I suspected it would be. I did actually go ahead and put the waistband on the cardigan last night just because I had everything up and ready to go, so I thought I might as well. So this is where we are up to. So we've got the basic structure of the cardigan really. Waistband's on here. It does have a raw edge still at the minute, which will be covered when we put the neckband on. Putting the waistband on was very straightforward. You literally fold it in half and sew it on right sides together. So you end up with this nice bit at the bottom. So the next step is going to be to put that collar band on, and to be honest, the next step is the only bit that I think you need to pay special attention to with this fabric. When you fold it, when you press it, it doesn't hold the fold all that well. So I have folded this in half, and it has got interfacing on where the button placket is. I just used a regular interfacing, not a stretch interfacing. It's kind of lightweight, and I ironed that on using a pressing cloth to make sure it protected my iron and my fabric. Yeah, so that it's not holding too bad, but in the next step I need to fold back one edge by 1 centimetre, which is going to be the inside edge that covers my seam, and I'm not convinced that's going to stay. If it doesn't, I might be using some of this. Wonder tape, which I do find really useful. It's like double-sided tape and it washes off. So once the garment's been washed, it disappears, which is amazing. I often use it for zips and things like that. And when I've got naughty seams that won't hold in place, I will use this just to sort of stabilize it and make sewing easier. So I'm going to go ahead and try and fold that 1 centimeter edge all along the raw edge here. And then I'm going to start pinning it onto the cardigan. So I'll take you to the table and you can see that in a second. I have ironed that edge down flat and I have ended up using some of the Wonder tape just to keep that there. And now I'm going to put the band around the neck of the cardigan with raw edges facing inwards. So I'm just going to tilt the camera down so you can see what I'm up to. Hopefully you get a bit of an idea from that. So here's my cardigan. Here's my neckband. This outside edge here is pressed in because that's going to be flipped around. And that raw edge there needs to be lined up with the edge of the cardigan. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that, and as before I'm going to use nice sharp pins, line up all my notches, my blue dots, to make sure everything is exactly where it needs to be. There does need to be a little bit of an overhang at the end here to help make that raw edge tuck in when it's all done. So I'm going to get on with that. So I've got everything pinned in place now. Let me show you. So it looks a bit weird at the minute, but that's everything pinned in place, ready to go. I'm going to take that over to my overlocker and sew the edge. Sorry, you're missing my head off the top there. Just a word of warning, this fabric is very stretchy. It has about 50–60% stretch in it. And there are times where you need to stretch the neckband to fit. Just make sure you are only stretching the neckband and not the actual garment. Otherwise, when it's finished, it's going to be a little bit out of shape. So literally just the neckband, and it's mainly towards the back of the garment where it needs to sit quite snug to your neck. Neckband is all on, and now I need to move to my sewing machine. So for this, I am going to use a jersey needle, just a regular size 70 jersey needle I've got in here, stretch needle, just needs to be nice and sharp and a fresh one. I'm sorry, I'm not getting great angles when I keep moving from room to room, so I'm sorry if my head's a bit chopped off. So yeah, I've got a regular jersey needle, matching polyester thread, and I'm just closing up the end of the waistband that sits at the bottom and connects to the neckband, because otherwise we've got a raw edge here. I am just going to use a straight stitch on this because actually that bit is not going to be stretched in any way, it's just hanging down at the front. You can use a zigzag if you want, or a lightning bolt, or a 3-step, whatever works for you, but I'm going to use a straight stitch on this and on the top stitching because again it's not going to get stretched, so I'm not worried. The other option is obviously to use Mariflex thread as well if you are worried. So I'm just going to close up this little 1 centimeter gap here on my sewing machine, and then I'll fold it all over and show you how we do the next bit. So that bottom raw edge is now tucked under, and I flipped it back round so that my neckband, the section that I originally folded that 1 centimeter hem on, is now flipped around to the inside and pinned over the seam that I sewed on previously. So that's the outside, that's the inside. It's also the moment to get your little label in if you want to. And this next bit, a lot of people, like I said, would hand stitch here, slip stitch to make sure there's no visible sewing lines. I am not a big hand stitcher and it tends to look more messy than if I machine stitch. So I am going to go to my machine and machine stitch from the wrong side all the way around to get that neckband in place. And assuming that goes well, all we have to do then is the cuffs. So yeah, straight stitch, normal thread, stitch in place, fingers crossed. My front band on my Marlo cardigan. I told you I was going to do it with a straight stitch on my machine, which is what I did do, but I had a little bit of a problem. So this looks fine, as you can see, just a faint line here. But what was happening is the overlocked seam that I was trying to cover with the folded over edge of the band was curling, and it was getting quite tricky for me to handle and keep everything in place. I did use a bit of tape to keep it in place, but it was still not looking as neat as I would want it to. So I've stopped when I got to the shoulder because that's where it was really bunching up, and I've actually hand stitched down the other side. Okay, so even though I said I hate hand stitching, I still do hate hand stitching, but I've done it. So I've got my little label in the back there. The problem is that this material does not like to be unpicked because it's such a loose weave. I don't want to unpick the bit that I have already stitched down. So it's not that noticeable, but I have got a line on that side and none on the side that I hand stitched. So I'm debating, I might go back in and do a line of top stitching on the band just to make both sides match, or I might not. I'll wear it and see how noticeable it is. I think it probably is quite noticeable. Anyway, we're nearly there. We have a cardigan with a band, a waistband, neckband, and I've popped the cuffs on. It's literally just 2 rectangles. Pop them over the sleeve like that, overlock the edges and flip them. Okay, so no, nothing complicated there. Again, overlocked. Everything so far has been done on the overlocker apart from that stitching down of the inside edges of this. So far really there is nothing different to handling this to a normal stretch fabric apart from the notches, apart from being careful about the stretching, and yeah, that's it really. So what I'm going to do now is the buttons. This is the bit that gives me a bit of a headache, I'm not going to lie. I have got some very pretty buttons here. I think these are the ones I'm going to use. They're little pink sparkly resin buttons. They're hard to see because they're a little bit clear as well. Put them against my hand for you. They're very cute. I've got some of them. They've got little sparkly bits in them and they tone in really nicely with this. Now on my cream version of this cardigan, I struggled with my buttons and I ended up using my stabiliser plate. I've got a 1-step buttonhole foot and it looks like this. That's for my Janome, and it did come with a stabiliser plate, which are these 2 bits here. They basically click onto here and you sandwich your fabric between the buttonhole foot and the stabiliser plate, and it really helps to feed it through more evenly. So I'm going to get this set up on my machine and practice on some scraps before I dive in, because I really don't want to go and ruin this now it's nearly finished. So this is my stabiliser plate attached with my button attached. I am going to now go and put that on my machine. I've got a scrap of fabric which I've interfaced to practice on, and we will just have to hope and pray that this little baby works. We have buttonhole success. They're a bit wonky because I had to kind of give the machine a little helping hand to stop it from getting stuck. So they're not completely in line, but good enough for me. So I'm going to put some fray check over here now. If you haven't used fray check before, it's like a kind of a glue and it just helps prevent fabric from fraying and unraveling. It's invaluable on things like this. I use it a lot. So I'll pop it on both sides, let it dry, and then cut them open with either a chisel or my seam ripper. And then I'll just need to pop my buttons on and it'll be all done. We are done. I've got my marlo here. See if you can spot the issue. In my haste to get things filmed and not concentrating fully, I have sewn my buttons on the wrong way. Should have my buttonholes on this side, buttons on this side. But you know what? It's okay, because I don't often wear this done up, and obviously I still can do it up. And it looks pretty much the same, doesn't it? I'm a lefty, so I'm thinking it probably won't matter anyway. I won't wear it done up. So yeah, it's done. I ended up hand stitching the buttons on. They're so cute. I think they were from Pigeon Wishes. They're 4-hole buttonholes, and I find I struggle to sew them on my machine when it's 4 holes. So hand stitch them on as well. They don't really go with what I'm wearing, but it's done. Hope you like it. I brought down my old marlo because I mentioned earlier I'd show you that you don't have to do it on your overlocker. Obviously it's a different material. This is a jacquard knit, I think. I made this about 5 years ago. It's fleece back. It's really lovely actually. It's still a favourite of mine. This one I didn't hand stitch at all, and there's no marks on this one. It was much easier to handle. And it's been washed and worn and washed and worn, and yeah, it's great. It's very cozy and snuggly and gets a lot of wear. This one's got chunkier buttons on it. The pattern does call for this size buttons, but I just chose to use smaller ones on the pink one because I like the buttons and they went well with it. So really, you know, I think it's just a case of being brave and going for it. Don't be afraid of this fabric. There is nothing too tricky about it, apart from, in my experience, the buttonholes. I know other people that have used this and have had no trouble at all. Mine have worked on this one and my cream one with a little bit of perseverance, a little bit of playing around. And I do find on my Janome, I just need to gently guide the material under the foot so it doesn't get stuck whenever there's a bit of texture to my fabric. So I'm really pleased with it. So this I think is marlo number 5. I'm very happy to have it. I will probably make another one in the green fabric that I showed you earlier, but I'm not 100% yet. This video has been a bit bitty. I've been going from room to room, ironing board, sewing machine. It's not a sew along, it's just to kind of give you the confidence to work with this fabric and see that it's not as scary as you might think. So I really hope it's been valuable, and I hope it hasn't been too bitty. I know in a couple of the clips my head's been cut off as well, so sorry about that. Yeah, but that's it for today. I'm tired. I want to go and put my marlo cardigan on and snuggle up in front of the TV, so I'll see you later.